In this video, I'm going to teach you how to find your first deal in the next 30 days. This is going to be a 6-part series where I go through the exact system that I use to find deals here in Hawaii. I've been able to go from negative $30,000 to over $200,000 investing in real estate in one of the most expensive markets in America. If you're interested in coming on these webinars live, go to the link in the description below and sign up for the next webinar. Check out session 1 where we talk about how to determine your market and your crystal clear criteria.
All right, aloha everybody. Welcome to the Lion Challenge. Why I ended up building this is because I know the same position that I was in when I first bought my house, and having nobody to bring the deal to and have them walk me through it. And that's the key, is don't just go to these investors and send them a link on Zillow. But if you actually have something under contract at a significant discount, that's when you bring it to an investor to have them walk you throughout the way. This program is supposed to teach you how to find that deal. Okay, so talking about how to choose a market. So there's 3 different things that determine a market, depending on if you are wanting to flip or buy this as rentals. Number 1 is job growth. If there are a lot of jobs in the area, people are going to flock to that area. I think about like Toyota. Toyota used to have a headquarters in California, and they ended up moving to Texas. So you can imagine in that area where they ended up moving their headquarters to, there was a lot of people moving there for jobs, causing population to go up, meaning demand for properties go up because these people are making money to buy a house. And as demand goes up, supply stays the same, then price point's going to go up, and that can be good for flipping and wholesaling. Another thing is affordability. Someplace like Hawaii is a little bit of a needle in a haystack because we live in paradise. It's not going to be affordable. When I think about affordability, if you're going to specialize in $1 million houses in Kansas City, Missouri, you're going to have a way smaller buyer pool. So you want to make sure you're getting a market that has a good amount of buyers, because you're going to sell these houses to somebody and you want to know that there's going to be a buyer coming at the table. So when you're choosing a market, ask yourself the following questions. Is it located near a big city? Typically, if you're near a big city, then there's going to be buyers who want to either purchase it for a wholesale and purchase it after you flip it. Is it in what's considered a good market? Now, remembering that there's 3 different types of markets. There's a buyer's market, a balanced market, and a seller's market. In a buyer's market, it typically means that there is a lot of inventory, 6 months worth of inventory on the market. And what that means is that, let's say no sellers decided that they wanted to sell for the next 6 months. And what is currently on the market is the only houses that are going to go on the market for the next 6 months. That means if we have 6 months worth of inventory, the current people who are looking to buy houses will buy up all of those houses in 6 months. So you can imagine if there's 6 months worth of inventory, buyers will have a better chance in negotiating the terms that they want, because there's so much on the market. Now, the last 2 years was what's called a seller's market, where there was only 1 to 3 months worth of inventory. And then in the middle is a balanced market. So this isn't a deal breaker, but if you're in an area that is always a seller's market, it's going to be really difficult to find deals on the MLS, or even find deals in general that people will sell to you for a discount. Another thing to keep in mind is just month-to-month fluctuations. So if randomly a market area goes up $100,000 in like 2 months, it's something to watch out for, because what goes up must come down. And if you end up investing in someplace like that, thinking that your property value is going to go up and all of a sudden it falls dramatically, you're going to be in trouble. So like, for example, we bought a house in March of last year for $350,000, and we thought we were going to sell it for $630K. We ended up closing at $579,000 because the interest rates shot up in May, right when we listed the property. And you just never know what's going to happen, when the feds are going to raise rates. Because for the last 2 years prior to that, the numbers were insane. Hawaii went up to $1.15 million for a median home price, and now we're back at like 975,000. So someplace like Hawaii, if you don't know the market, it can get very tricky to understand these booming or unpredictable markets. So another thing is, does the area have low average home prices? Again, this is just something to consider because affordability does play a role in like what kind of people want to live there and if there's a lot of buyers. But again, in Hawaii, it's kind of like a needle in a haystack kind of place. Now, the last thing is just what I talked about. Does the market have job growth and population growth? Because more jobs, more people, more buyers. Now, what this means to determine your crystal clear criteria, once you figure out your location, now you can figure out what's called your buy box. Now, your buy box is something that you're going to give wholesalers and say, hey, in order for me to buy a house, this is what I'm looking for. And typically you're going to have these different things: location, property type, condition, price range, and profitability. Location is what we talked about previously. What market are you in? Your property type, there's so many different property types. Let's say you decide you want to do wholesaling, but you want to stick to only condos because you're in an expensive market like Hawaii, and you feel just more comfortable working with these like low price homes. So you're probably only going to tell these wholesalers that you want to only buy condos, but there's so many different things, right? Like commercial, multifamily, office space, land, single family houses up to 4 units, condominiums, townhouses. So these are all things that you need to determine, like, hey, I'm only buying this. Don't go so wide, because when you go wide, you're never going to be able to stay in your lane, put your heads down, put your blinders on, and actually stay in your lane. The next thing is condition. Let's say you're wanting to flip a house. For your first house flip, you decide, hey, I only want to do cosmetic flips. What does that mean? It means I only want to do things where it doesn't have major structural issues or big plumbing issues, because that can be a huge project to take on as a newbie, or like anything where you have to add square footage to make the deal work. I would definitely shy away from these crazy structural issues if you've never done it before and you're wanting to do a flip. So that's something that's going to be in your buy box. The next thing is your price range. In Hawaii, the average is around $1 million. So I'm really trying to stay anywhere between $500,000 and $1.5 million. I typically don't want to be working with properties that are higher than that because there's just not that much buyers that I'm used to working with. You're going to have to determine for yourself what that price range looks like and what you're comfortable with. And then the last thing is profitability, which has to do with numbers. Now, looking at here, the profitability. So you want to determine if you're wholesaling to either flippers or landlords. So like, for example, in some place like Hawaii, you're typically wholesaling to a flipper. You can't really cash flow here because let's say you buy $1 million house and your mortgage is $8,000 a month. You can only rent this property for $3,000 a month. So the numbers just don't work. But it is a great place to flip. So if we are looking for flippers, there are 2 main numbers that they're going to be looking at for profit to determine if the deal is profitable, is what's called the ROI and the minimum profit. And then for landlords, it would just be the cash on cash investment or minimum cash flow. And this is how you calculate those numbers. So for flippers, if when you're running the deal, you want to make sure that their return on investment, which is the total profit divided by the total dollar amount of pocket for investment, like I want to at least make 12% return. For example, if I paid $100,000 for everything, like purchase, rehab, all that, then I need to at least make $112,000. That would give me a $12,000 in return, or a 12% return on investment. And minimum profit is just another number. For example, in Hawaii, $1 million house, I want to at least make $100,000 or 10% of the after repair value. So if I know I'm going to sell a house for $1 million, when I run my numbers, I better at least make 100,000 on it. And then for landlords, that cash on cash return is essentially the same thing as return on investment, but just for a rental. And then cash flow is just your net amount of income is minus all of your operating expenses. So any landlord or flipper that you're going to wholesale your deals to will have these two criterias, and you want to determine, hey, if I'm deciding that I'm going to flip, what do I want my return on investment and minimum profit to be? Or if you're deciding that you want to be a landlord, you'll determine these numbers. When a deal comes across your face, you know if that's a good deal for you, because if you don't determine this ahead of time, you won't know what a good deal is. You're just going to look at the price and say, oh, they're selling this for 100,000. It's worth 120. This is a good deal. False. That's wrong. You need to calculate it based off of this profitability.
Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to be on these videos live, go to the link in the description below to sign up. Aloha y'all, see you on the next video. Shoot!